While working on Justice League, a movie that should have been the DCEU's defining moment as Avengers Assemble was for the MCU, director Zack Snyder was forced to step away from the project after a terrible family tragedy. With Snyder no longer able to work on the movie, Joss Whedon was brought in, and it's no understatement to say that he had a vastly different vision as to what the Justice League should look like. Even with most of the movie shot, the new director undertook a huge amount of rewrites and reshoots to better fit his idea. What resulted was kind of a mess, and the clear product of two different directors at opposite ends of the superhero movie spectrum. After years of lobbying and petitioning, fans are finally getting what they wanted, the Snyder Cut. The original director's vision, with no interference or changing from anyone else, will be coming to HBO Max in 2021, first in 4 separate 1-hour parts, with a vision to eventually bring it all together as one long movie. It may be better, it may be worse, but one thing we know for sure is that it's definitely different. I'm Will for What Culture, and here are 10 major changes to the Justice League we already know about. 10. Do you bleed? Though the Justice League wasn't particularly well received on release, there was one scene that stood out as easily one of the best moments. When Superman was resurrected, he engaged the rest of the Justice League in combat, showing off his strength, his agility, and matching the Flash's famous pace. There was so much to enjoy about the sequence, however there was one tiny detail that fans weren't quite sure of. When Superman finally got his hands on Batman, the Man of Steel asked Bruce Wayne if he bleeds. This was a clear callback to the reverse conversation the two had in Dawn of Justice. So you'd have been forgiven for thinking the line was put in by Zack Snyder. However, the director has recently revealed otherwise. When a fan asked online if Superman would still ask the question in the Snyder Cut, the director made clear his feelings about that line, saying it makes absolutely no sense, leaving no doubts to its omission from the Joss Whedon-less version of the movie. 9. More focus on CYBORG. Coming into the Justice League with no backstory or development left CYBORG to suffer as a character. Victor Stone clearly had a unique, compelling and tragic backstory to be told, but virtually nothing was explored about him from before he became CYBORG. During the DC Fandom event, Zack Snyder made it clear he wasn't happy with how the character was ultimately used in the cinematic version of the movie, and that his cut will flesh him out more and truly build him as a hero that fans can attach to. He is supposed to be the heart of the movie, and the one that holds the entire team together, which is something that absolutely did not come across in cinemas. 8. The death of Silas Stone. One of the characters that saw his role significantly reduced from Zack Snyder's original vision was Victor Stone's father, Silas. As the head of Star Labs, Silas clearly has the kind of intelligence few else have had throughout the DCEU, and was the reason his son became what he became. In the cinematic release of the movie, after being interrogated by Steppenwolf, Silas was ultimately saved by the Justice League. However, in the Snyder Cut, as we have already seen in the trailer, he's gonna die. His death will come thanks to the unprecedented power of the mother boxes, which will naturally serve as a motivation for Victor throughout the rest of the film. Though it is strange for such a death to be shown in a trailer, Snyder has already made it known that Silas was never meant to survive. 7. Much more Flash. As with Victor Stone, Barry Allen suffered from a lack of character development and screen time in Justice League. While he is certainly more recognizable in the mainstream than CYBORG, the DCEU version of the Flash needed far more fleshing out for audiences to actually care about him. Though he did make an impact on the movie, it was more in terms of comic relief than any true substance, which leads us to question just how much of Zack Snyder's Flash made it to the big screen. Snyder aims to correct this, with the director promising tons more Flash and a much deeper look at his emotional arc throughout the story. 6. Iris West. There were many things brought to the Justice League table by Zack Snyder that were ultimately left out by Joss Whedon. One that suffered such a fate was Iris West, who may have been cut for the cinematic release, but will feature in the Snyder Cut. Her part in the movie isn't likely to be anything more than a cameo in the Snyder Cut, with her true impact set to come later in the extended universe with Flash's solo movie, but it's these little puzzle pieces that will pay off further down the line that are what the DCEU has been missing ever since its creation. Not only will this help flesh out Barry's character a bit more, allowing him something else to fight for, it will save the need to take the the time introducing West when the Flash movie finally does come to life. 5. The Black Superman Suit. After Superman was killed off in Dawn of Justice, only his second DCEU appearance by the way, there wasn't a fan watching that didn't expect it to be undone in the near future. After all, it played out in the comics and it was bound to happen in the films sooner or later. Of course, this is exactly what happened in Justice League. It was no secret as the character was used in the marketing of the movie, so every fan knew what to expect. However, when he was brought back to life in the movie, Superman wasn't sporting the jet black costume like he did in 1992. The distinctive, iconic aesthetic that signaled a damaged, broken, and still healing Man of Steel will now be a part of the Snyder Cut, after being left out of the cinematic release. This is more than just a change of colour for Superman, it shows a change in the hero himself, that he's different from before his battle with Doomsday, lending the movie something of a Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White kind of vibe, something that's clearly very important to Snyder's vision of Superman's story. 4. Batman's speech. One of Snyder's favourite aspects of working with the Justice League was bringing together and making a family out of characters that were previously loners. While this was his intention, however, it didn't really come across that way in the cinematic release. For a lot of the movie we saw 3 years ago, the heroes that made up the Justice League never truly felt like a team. Instead, they operated more as individuals that just happened to be fighting the same fight. The teaser trailer that was dropped as a part of the Snyder Cut panel at the DC Fandome showed us a very interesting scene right at the end. With the team gearing up to face their final battle, Batman steps up with an inspirational, almost Captain America-esque speech that we didn't get in the cinemas. This will be a big step towards bringing the heroes together as a true team and family. As Bruce says, it's the fact that they're coming together as one that makes them a fiercer force than any of the demons their opponent has ever faced before. 3. Martian Manhunter. One of the key pieces of the marketing campaign for Justice League was the slogan, Unite the Seven. In the run-up to the movie, it seems that this was an obvious nod towards there being 7 superheroes together to form the titular team. I mean, what else could it have meant? Yet, in the cinematic version, there were very clearly only 6 members of the Justice League, with no sign of a 7th member. There was a brief Green Lantern cameo during the flashback sequence, but certainly not as a member of the team. Towards the end of 2019, Zack Snyder revealed that his version of the movie actually featured Martian Manhunter. Though not a well-known character in terms of mainstream audiences, the hero is an essential member of the team, and a favourite amongst fans of the comics and the TV show. Although it's unclear exactly what role he will have in the Snyder Cut, the director has confirmed that there is a full story written for him, as John Johns has been on Earth, disguised as General Calvin Swanwick, even interacting with Superman back in 2013's Man of Steel. 2. Flash's new power. The Flash is one of the most popular superheroes DC Comics has to its name, and there is so much more to him than just his speed. Barry Allen has always had a lot more power in his arsenal than what was eventually shown as a part of the Justice League in cinemas. Even before the announcement of the Flashpoint adaptation in the future, fans would have been forgiven for feeling a little shortchanged from what they'd seen of Barry and his powers in the DCEU. However, this will be another thing remedied in the Snyder Cut, as the director has promised that we'll see something from the character that we have never seen before. Something related to time and space, which could be the ultimate game changer for the Justice League in their battle against this version's big bad. Not only would this make the Flash a more interesting character and potentially spice up the final showdown, it may also go some way to explaining the seemingly random, never fully explained moment in Dawn of Justice where Bruce Wayne gets a message from Barry Allen in the future. And number 1, DARKSEID. Imagine how different the MCU would have been if Thanos' first appearance, no matter how small, was ultimately cut from the first Avengers movie. The build-up to the villain's first real appearance helped to develop and grow anticipation for the character, and the same was supposed to happen with Darkseid in the DCEU. The supervillain was supposed to appear in Justice League, setting up much further involvement in the future of the franchise, but was shockingly cut entirely by Joss Whedon. However, this won't be the case in the Snyder Cut, as we will get to see one of the greatest villains DC Comics have in action. Darkseid was teased as early as Dawn of Justice as a part of Batman's dream sequence, so naturally fans were excited to see what exactly the Justice League would be going up against. Instead, we got Steppenwolf, one of the worst and most one-dimensional comic book movie villains in recent memory. While the villain will still feature in Zack Snyder's cut, it will be his nephew who will take over as the main antagonist. Darkseid's involvement in this version of the movie is easily the most anticipated aspect of the project, with fans already hyped up to the max from his appearance in the trailer. He was likely left out of the original cut by Whedon to focus up the story and have one clear villain, but it will be extremely interesting to see what Snyder does with his implementation of his original true villain. And there you have it, folks, 10 major changes we already know about the Justice League Snyder Cut. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.